Okay, let's get started. Hey guys, and welcome back. If this is your first time at Offset, you picked a great day to get into it. This is the beginning of week 3 of our takeover. This is the week that we take over when Adobe Live gets to take a little break and go on vacation, some nice work-life balance, and then I get to swoop in and talk to really cool people, and we get to see all about their process and their work and how things work in their brain. So today I'm really excited to go ahead and bring on Nick Greenawalt, who is a fantastic motion designer. He is known in the motion space for his wonderful work and his wonderful tutorials and his wonderful NFT projects. So we'll be going over everything today, asking him all about how he got his start, what inspires him, and what kind of work is coming down the line. If you have any questions for him while we are live with him, please by all means throw it in the chat. If you're joining over on YouTube, make sure you hop on over to Behance. We're going to have our mods throw a link in there for you guys so you can hop over and be part of the conversation on Behance, where is the predominant place for chat and moderation. I'm already seeing Steve and Bruce, Oliver and Rick all in the chat saying hello. It's really good to see you guys. Thank you for being here. And we hopefully have a really great show for you today. Got lots of stuff to get through. We're here for the next 2 hours. So wherever you are in your time zone, whether that is a morning, midday, or night, thanks for sticking around with us and hanging. If you have to hop off for a meeting, we'll still be here in 2 hours. So just hop in and out as you wish. But without any further ado, I would love to bring in our guests. So please do me the honor of welcoming Nick to the stream. Hey, Nick, how's it going?
Hello. Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Well, thank you for taking the time to be here. It's an honor to get to talk to you. I guess we could probably just start off with you just introducing yourself and telling everyone what you're all about.
My name is Nick, aka Motion by Nick. I am a motion designer, which is a fancy word for animator. I teach motion design on YouTube, on Instagram. I have some free courses on Skillshare. I have my own course that I launched called Motion Design Upgrade on Gumroad. I've been a motion designer in the industry for many, many years now. Worked with really amazing clients, did some stuff with people you might know like AE Scripts, and have recently gone off on my own to, like I said, pursue this wonderful YouTube career, and most recently launched some cool NFT projects, and keep building out my courses and my YouTube.
That's perfect. I think it's funny that we both have overlap with AE Scripts. I actually hit up Lloyd earlier this week because I needed to get a new coffee maker, and he's a coffee maniac, so I had to ask him what to get. But by the way, my cat also is hopping around, so he might hop into the stream at some point. If you guys see him, just say hello to Roscoe. So yeah, I think what we can start off first, since we just kind of got your rundown of everything. I also went ahead and I had thrown your socials up on the screen while we were there. I have here your YouTube and Twitter is Motion by Nick, but if we go to your full screen, I also have your Instagram, which is a little bit different because you have motion.by.nick. But you predominantly post probably on YouTube and Instagram the most, right?
Yeah, I got to clean up those handles, make them consistent. You're right. Thanks for pointing that out. But
no, I mean, it's tough. It's just one person can throw you entirely off if you.
Oh, and I'm on TikTok now, so you got to follow me on TikTok. I don't dance, but I did have a banger TikTok the other day, which I'm very proud of. So
you're like, I don't dance, but I make the keyframes dance.
I did show my feet, which I'm not proud of, but I had to, you got to try new things if you want to make it in this world. It's very competitive.
Yeah. When did you get into TikTok?
like maybe a couple weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago. I can't really remember. I was trying. It's really tough, but you gotta embrace it all.
You gotta adapt. Do you feel like it's very different from Instagram Reels?
I think that TikTok is like making everyone else like bend the knee to them. So now like Reels and YouTube, like everyone is like forming into that. It's like quick, and you got to put text on everything, and you got to get people engaged in the first half second, and you got to put music on. Like everything kind of turned into TikTok in a way.
Yeah. I actually saw that last week. Twitter implemented a new video feature now that when you click into a video, you can start to scroll, and you can like kind of have the interface and experience of TikTok or Instagram Reels now, because that's kind of the expectation. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting, to see how everyone's bending the knee to the new competitor in the space.
Yep.
But with that said, I think that'd be a perfect time to kind of start hopping into your work. I'm not going to pull up your TikTok. I mean, I can if you want me to.
Like I said, there's feet stuff on there. It will get you banned off of the stream, so I wouldn't do that right now.
Okay, good to know. Let's check out your work. Let's look at your work. So I have here pulled up your website, which everyone can navigate to by going to www.motionbynick.com. Also, I can't believe I said www. Like it's like 1999.
You might as well say HTTPS.
Yeah, right. Ask your parent before going online. So you got a pretty extensive portfolio. So huge props to that. A lot of people are not good at keeping their portfolios updated. When I was clicking around with everything that you've had, it was nice to see that you had everything well documented, and you even have your storyboards, you name it. Let's actually just hop in. Do you want to watch the plug intelligence real quick?
Sure.
All right.
Designer in today's modern world is not easy. There's too many plugins to use and not enough time in the day. And here at AE Scripts, we feel you. After all, we created this mess. But what if there is a better way? Introducing AE Scripts Plug Intelligence. How does it work? After undergoing a minimally invasive surgery, AE Scripts Plug Intelligence implants directly into your temporal lobe, allowing Plug Intelligence AI to merge with your own thoughts, knowing exactly which plugin you want to use every time you click the button. Say goodbye to endless panels. No more annoying updates. Side effects may include headaches, nausea, dizziness, drowsiness, dry mouth, a big plug in your head, lots of appetite, increased sweating, diarrhea, upset stomach, and temporal glitching. Stop wasting time overloading your brain with hard decisions and let us make decisions for you. Ask your art director if AE Scripts Plug Intelligence is right for you. Plug Intelligence is not available yet. We are still looking for qualified surgeons willing to perform this experimental procedure. Visit our website to be notified when Plug Intelligence is available in your area. This procedure is not covered by any insurance, and AE Scripts accepts no liability for any harm caused.
Yeah, so Lloyd from AE Scripts, every year they do an amazing April Fool's gag video. So I did it for 2 years. I didn't have time to do it this year. I got asked, but I didn't have time to do it this year again, unfortunately. But so this was the second one that I did for them. And this is one of the first projects that I ever like just fully directed. I actually didn't do any animation in this. So I found the team, completely wrote the script, drew the storyboards, found the voiceover, like basically produced the entire thing, concept at all, but didn't do any animation on it. So, but the team I work with, Gino and Geraldine, they're an incredible duo. I work with them on so much stuff now. They're just so awesome. And so they were just brought this to life so perfectly. The concept here is basically that, and the way I love about working with AE Scripts is that they're like so self-aware, right? So like the concept, because I always want to talk to them, like, if you want it to be funny, like we have to understand the audience. And like one of the problems with AE Scripts, I shouldn't say problem, but it's like, there's just like, with After Effects and with AE Scripts, it's like we just, as a motion designer, you're just buying so many plugins all the time, and it gets to the point where it's like, it's kind of like this battle we face of like, do we kind of even feel like we're even doing the animation anymore when our whole screen is just filled with like stuff that we've bought for this program.
Right.
So we're like, okay, well, what if, and like, and AEscripts, we're talking, we're like, you know, our like AEscripts, a company, you're like, you're like feeding this too, but it's like everyone loves you and depends on you, but it's also like this double-edged sword at the same time. And he's like so on board with it. He, you know, he totally understands like the community. That's why Lloyd is just amazing. So the concept here is basically that you could just buy a plugin that will feed directly into your brainstem, and it knows exactly what you want to design, but the procedure is really questionable and there's no licensed doctors to do it. And
it has a lot of side effects.
It has a lot of side effects and they're not good.
So I know you mentioned that you didn't do the animating for this. You were more in a directorial position. Do you feel like being a motion designer who has been on the other side before helped you a lot with approaching as a director?
Yeah, I do. So like if you go to my storyboards that are on the website, you can see they're so bad. Like they're so bad, but they like they're comically bad, but they kind of come across like the vision of how things should move and what the scene should look like. I can't draw like that. I cannot illustrate. So, and I knew there was a certain kind of illustration and kind of like motion that I wasn't going to be able to communicate. So bringing on other people who are also skilled like that, they can, you know, read this language. They can read a really bad storyboard and you know, speak that same kind of langue. So
and make magic out of it.
Exactly.
Well, I think that it felt very cohesive. It felt like it was all part of the same idea. Like it didn't feel like they were like outsourced illustrations. They all felt very one and the same, where the animation and the illustration worked well together. It's interesting to see kind of how the storyboard got to the final piece. Did you have a good time with being director? Was this something you'd like to do moving forward, or do you kind of miss going and being in the keyframes yourself?
No, I like it. I've actually, so you said earlier, like this, I kept my portfolio up to date. It's actually not super up to date. There's actually 2 more videos since in short films that I've directed that I just haven't put on my website. I haven't had time, that are actually like big, even bigger than this, like a 4-minute one, a 5.5, 6-minute one, that I haven't really had time to like break down in a nice way to put on here, that are like much bigger in scope, working with the same team. And so I enjoy it. There is, you know, there's always the part of you that's like, it got to a certain point where like over the past year, I was doing a lot of directing, a lot of kind of like business management stuff that you do miss, and you really want to get back in and crank out some keyframes. So it's a you know, a give and take. Like I like directing. I like hiring other people to execute certain things that I don't want to do, and help like to, you know, realize a vision that you could never kind of achieve. But sometimes you just really want to get in and do it.
No, that makes sense. I feel like that would constantly be a little bit of the juggle between the two, but I also could see how it would be a really good time. Now, I know that you mentioned that you have other videos up as well that you have not yet put on to your portfolio, but that did make me really think of your YouTube page, which is youtube.com/motionbynick as well. And on there, this is kind of actually how I initially became aware of you, was ignore that. Not brought to you by whatever that is. I'm not logged into my own YouTube Plus account, so I don't have I don't even know if it's called Plus. Everything's called Plus now, so if I pay for it, I call it Plus. But this is the one where you kind of went through and are talking about color keyframes, and this is a closer to educational approach to your online presence. What got you into that?
I like just like I think there was a time many years ago when I was like, you know, there was kind of this rise in people making like stuff like tutorials on Instagram, I think. But I kind of thought that it wasn't that like fun maybe. And I just thought that like you watch a lot of tutorials and people just do like a robot voice over it or something. And I don't know. I just think that you can have a good time when you're learning stuff, and it doesn't have to be. I think that's why a lot of people like my stuff, is that I really I just try to make people laugh more so than and teach you one core concept, and that's kind of really what I just like to have a good time more than anything. So it's if you can learn one trick out of this, you can learn one thing, that there's now colorful keyframes in After Effects. But if I made you laugh a couple times, it'll probably stick in your head more, because I'm a visual learner. I'm kind of more of a tactile person. So that kind of things. If you have laugh while you're doing something, that kind of concept will probably stay with you more.
Right. It's kind of how when you write things down rather than type them, you kind of remember. I feel like if you laugh or you find humor and joy in something, you're more likely to store that in a more important part of your brain.
Yeah.
I do really enjoy the voice that you have kind of through all of it. I mean, you do a good job with creating shorts as well, even if it's kind of tongue in cheek. I know you have you can't rig in After Effects, but then you obviously have done a lot of rigging and you've built it out. So I don't want to say an arrogance to it, but I'm trying to think of a cartoon character that feels.
Well, Lloyd from AE Script said that I'm smarmy, which was a word I never heard before, but then it kind of describes it, which I liked. A lot of people say I sound a comment I got a lot this more than one time. I've got is the dude from Gabe from The Office and the guy from Silicon Valley. So yeah. I've gotten that a certain.
I can see that. I could definitely see it. But also you're your own man, so don't let that take away from you.
It's a compliment to me. But yeah, I sometimes it's the it's also just trying things out. I'll just be okay, well maybe we'll do it a certain type of humor is appreciated by people. I have a certain type of humor. I like really dark comedy. And so I'm just I like really dark comedy. So it's can I make a dark comedy tutorial? I don't know. That's a really bad idea, but why wouldn't I try it out? I don't know.
Right. I mean, I'd love to see it if it happens. One thing that I do also want to bring up is the idea that you have this Wanderers going on, the Wanderverse, right? And that's something that's relatively new to your I don't know. When you got into that, probably within the last year, right?
Yeah, it was about 1 year, a little over 1 year ago that was launched.
What got you into that?
So I actually left my job maybe in 2020 or so, and that was to go fully into YouTube and teaching courses. And then, so I was looking for all these different ways to, make passive income. I like making, you make a little bit of money on YouTube, and that's every month. You drop some courses, that's a little bit of money every month. You do project files, that's a little bit more. And then, a friend told me about NFTs, and that was when the things were going crazy. So I got onto this platform called Super Rare, and at the time, what I was doing was I was already making loops every day, right? I was making loops and breaking them down for people, showing people how to animate them. So I would make a loop on Instagram and then show the process behind it, make a tutorial out of it. And this was something that I was already doing every week or so, just as part of my process. And then I could put them onto Super Rare and sell them, and people were buying them, things I was already making. And it was just kind of blowing my mind that people wanted to buy digital artwork and support a digital creator in the same way that I buy, this tapestry behind me from someone that I like, or paintings or whatever. People want to buy digital artwork in the same way. It was really fascinating to me. And so that really quickly became my biggest revenue stream. So I just went full force into that, and actually launched my own project after a couple months, which then just became like way bigger than anything that I could ever have imagined.
Well, I do want to definitely talk about that creation process that you have a few months long, obviously. And if we go on to here and we go into the open sea or whatever, I saw a tweet by you recently that mentioned that there are thousands. I mean, how many of them are there?
There's 8,888 of these,
and out of all of them, they all have these perfect loops that have different elements to them, but none of them collide or intersect. I saw.
Yep.
How did you figure that out, and what did you do to create 8,000 pieces without it completely falling in on itself?
Yeah, this was my most complicated thing ever. Like, so because there's no template for something like this, and it's easy to imagine how people make these with like a Photoshop file, right? You just make a bunch of layers, they stack on top of each other, and you export all the layers, and boom, now you have like the profile picture ones. But for animations, it becomes much more complex because you have to make all of the loops, especially for an animation like this, where you have things like the planets come out in one place and ships fly by, and there's panels and there's hands, because you have to try out hundreds and hundreds of combinations, because there's, at the end of the day, there was about 3 to 4 quadrillion possible combinations of things that could happen. And so there's so many things I had to cut. Like I cut like asteroids exploding. I cut like alien squids flying by, like all this stuff, because there's just one possible combination that happens where things, they intersect in a really bad way. And you're just like, well, on the off chance that this combination happens, like I just can't let it exist. So it's just so many, like the prototyping, the project file, there's got to be hundreds of thousands of lines of expressions of how you generate seeds and all this stuff. It's like a lot of just Googling things for, like, I need a very specific expression of like linking this controller into another composition and being able to turn this layer on and off when this thing happens on the other side of this project. Like weird stuff you have to finagle for your specific rules. This is probably really boring, but that's how
that's not boring at all. That's so you are talking to your people here, which is really nice about the Adobe Lives, is you have a lot of creators that are also looking to do similar things. And I'm just really interested, did you create this all through After Effects and export it through After Effects, or did you create it in After Effects and then use like a different program to do the seeding and the connection of all the different elements?
Yeah, so a lot of the parts are made in Illustrator and then brought into After Effects, or they're created in After Effects too, because After Effects is also a vector program. So most of the parts are created in both Illustrator and After Effects, and then everything is just rigged up into After Effects, creating really complex grouping and comps and whatever, and then just everything gets exported out in PNG sequences, tons and tons of PNG sequences, and then I have to find a developer who knows what to do with all of that, which is then just a whole nother thing that I have no idea how that works. But a developer then knows how to write rules of how things get compiled, and then we say this thing is more rare than this thing, and it's really fun because then it becomes like a trading card game.
Did you ever imagine that you would have something that's essentially a trading card game in your collection of things you've created?
Well, that's how I explain it to like my grandma, who just asks me what are you doing? What is this? How could you people who don't get it all, I just say, well, it's digital trading cards. That's there's just trading cards that have no physical component, but they're animations, and there's a lot more to it than that, but they're trading cards. And that's why people really, really like them. You can trade them around.
Now, your whole thing around it is story building, right? So the idea is that they all tell a different, like, astronauts kind of exploration, but even outside of that, you're kind of building on top of that, right? With a narrative.
Yep. So that's why what I was saying before is like a couple short films that I've directed, they're actually create this whole world around them. They explain the stories behind them, how they all came into existence, and you know, they explained the story behind yours. And then we actually did a casting call so people could like audition their characters to be in one of the films.
Oh, that's cool.
And then we made people audition, and they said why their character is right for the film. And then if we chose some people that we liked their auditions, we put them into the movie.
Now, is that something, I know earlier you said that you didn't illustrate yourself. Is that something that you are looking to begin to illustrate? Like, obviously you illustrated these parts, right? Like the hands, the hot dogs, the pizzas. And then as this kind of continues to grow and adapt, do you see yourself getting into illustrating parts of it, or do you find like you might outsource and bring that in and kind of even approach this as the same way that you have your directorial situation with AE scripts
for like the short film stuff?
Right. Yeah.
So those were just fully, I mean, they were so complex that I needed to have a whole team. I hired a writer for them. I hired a writer. We had probably 10 voice actors. We had, I had to have a team of animators because they were really, really involved.
Right.
So at that point I was like, and this project became so involved on my end that it was more like, at that point I kind of just really felt like I was really like I was like a boss man, just kind of overseeing things. So yeah.
But I mean, how cool is that? That's fantastic. Just kind of seeing you start from one position where you're like, hey, I'm going to start making YouTube videos, to fast forward, 2-3 years or whatever. And now this is kind of really adapted and created its own ecosystem and universe. So
that's what I say is like, that's what I think. I quit my job to go to make YouTube videos and to keep selling courses. And then less than a year later, I'm doing stuff I could never even predicted, which is why I'm such a proponent of, not of like vertical or horizontal lateral movements. Like I'm very, very big on not kind of staying your course for too long. I really, really feel strong that people should like keep experimenting. And I know it's easier said than done, obviously. So take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt, but like, jump around and try new things and make lateral movements, because you can't really predict where those kind of lateral movements will take you.
Yeah. Do you feel like this is the direction where you want to go, or do you think you'll jump again?
I can't even predict it. I mean, I think that this like, it's easy in retrospect to see, oh, well, this thing took you to the next thing, but it's impossible to predict forward. So like, I hope that I can't predict where I am in 1 year forward.
Yeah, 100%. By the way, I'm seeing a lot of people say hello in chat. It's really good to see you guys. Thank you for being here. We have people like Sarah and RB, Bruce, all joining the chat. Also, people over on YouTube as well. If you're there, make sure you hop on over to Behance to join the conversation. If you have any questions for Nick as we go through this, please, by all means, throw them in there. There was a question over from YouTube for you, Nick, that said, how much do you have you made from this one, if you don't mind?
So I actually did a video on Motion Hatch, a Motion Hatch video on this. My company, we have done maybe 4 million from this. Now, keep in mind that's with we have several employees and a team of people. So it's definitely been a very awesome endeavor. And the whole collection itself, like all of the Wander stuff has done like a whole total volume of like north of 7 million.
Wow, congratulations. That's phenomenal. That's incredible.
Yeah, I think that, the whole NFT stuff, it gets a maybe it's a bad rap. It's very mixed feelings with people, but I think it can be really incredibly empowering for creators. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm always in the camp of embracing new technology and seeing where it goes. Obviously, I'm saying all this on behalf of Ryan Selvy, not on Adobe. But yeah, no, it's interesting to see how it can impact creators and impact kind of trajectories as to what you are doing with your creative field and how it's kind of changed where you are. And now you have a company with it, and yeah, it's always nice to hear a success story. But it did start with humble beginnings, and we're about 30 minutes in, so I think it'd be great to do another one of our segments, which is what's in your sketchbook.
Ooh, what's in your sketchbook?
So Nick was kind enough to go ahead and actually scan a bunch of his physical sketchbooks and send them over my way. So I went ahead and I pulled them up onto this little presentation that we have. And I was hoping that we could just walk through these a little bit and then talk about kind of what this started as and kind of how your process went from jotting things down and then how that kind of creates something new. So this one is for obviously the AE Scripts plugin situation that we just watched, right?
Yep. And so you can see like, well, so I just love, I have sketchbooks. I have stacks of sketchbooks everywhere. I have them all over, and like, I'm not precious about them. They're all a mess, and I have terrible handwriting, and I'm really bad at sketching, but I just really like hand to paper and just getting ideas out. So this is how the AE script was written, that one we just watched. Just basically like putting down the ideas of the script. It should be an easy plugin. What's the setup? The setup is that there's too many plugins. Right? You can basically see like my brain dump here. The setup, you need to set up for a script that there's too many plugins, right? That's the idea. That's the whole idea. There's too many plugins. And then what if there's a better way? Well, what if AE Scripts creates a one-click plugin that like fixes it all, and it's a minimally invasive surgery. There's a chip implanted in your brain, and then knows exactly what script you want to use. And then there's a bunch of side effects, and like then I just keep writing down ideas. That's it. Like that's just.
It's amazing how much actually made it through to the final product too. Like this is all stuff that really made it. Like this was the skeleton, and it persevered through into the final product.
I mean, when you watch some of my videos, like I mean, maybe it's not surprising, but like they're very little edited. Like I'll sometimes like do a whole recording and then watch it back, and then watch it, like sit on it for a day, maybe watch it again and see if I like it, and maybe trim something up or so. But then that's like it, if I'd liked it or not. And so something like this, it's like if I read it through and I'm like, well, this is good. I show it to Lloyd. He's like, this is good. Like I write the script out, and then we'll like make a few tweaks on it. But it's like, I'm really big on like, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Like if you got something good here, just go with it, because otherwise you'll kind of have like analysis paralysis and just kind of be like, well, is this good? Like, and just
do you come up with that? Is that your thing? Analysis?
No, paralysis? I definitely have not come. I've definitely not come up with that. But I like, you just gotta like that. If you sit around thinking about stuff too much, like you're never gonna do anything. Just just go for it, and
But no, I mean, it's inspiring to kind of just see the start, kind of like they say when you're writing a story, just start the first sentence and then everything else will kind of continue. I guess it's kind of in the same way when you're creating content as well. It's like just start making it, and then don't get too caught up in the details.
Yep.
This next one, we have something with the fundamentals. What is this for?
So I think this was what the idea for my course. I was originally going to call it the fundamentals, and you can see I've underlined fun, right? Yeah. This might actually be an idea for like a news course. I can't really remember what this was. I just found it in my notebook and I liked it. But I think this became my motion design upgrade course, because number 4 is a lesson that's in the course, which is funny because I don't even know what this is. It's in my sketchbook, and you can see like the ideas I want to cover, and like, but I like the title here, the fundamentals, because it's kind of like something that I thought the idea comes across as like what I like to teach. Like the emphasis here is that it's fun.
Yeah.
That's like the weighted part. And then it's like, well, here's what I'm going to teach you too.
The thing that really surprises me is how much of a written thinker you are for such a visual person. Like most of your notebook is text, which is kind of different than what I would think when, you know, you would maybe be storyboarding something or something creating out. It seems like you really are text first, and then you create the visuals based off of the text ideas that you have written down.
Yeah, I think personally, I'm a really good writer, and I'm not a good illustrator or designer. But I have really high confidence in my written skills. Like I think, like if I'm gonna be honest, I think I can write really good scripts. I think I'm a smart writer. I think I'm a funny writer. But my drawing is not good. It's terrible. I have no illustration skills whatsoever. So I always tend to just write ideas more so than draw them.
So what got you into motion design then? If you weren't illustrating, are you just like taking other pieces of work that you found and animating them?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I always liked animation though. And it was a thing where it's like, it always been like a frustration point for me is like I could animate something really well, but I would always get so impatient at the like design stage of it. And I would always want to just like get through the design part, which is why a lot of my early animation work, it's very ugly, but it is animated well, you know?
Right. It's exploring the movement more so than the actual design itself.
Mm-hmm. Even now, sometimes like, you know, I'm doing like a quick lesson and it'll be like, I don't have patience to like design something. So I'll do like a ball bounce and I'll show you like, and it'll be like a dang nice ball bounce. But but it's like, and I'll be like, I could have designed. I can't think of like a better design thing to show this because I don't really have that in me right now.
Yeah. Bruce wants to know any advice for someone who is the opposite for artists who are not writers.
I think it's still the same thing, like getting the concept out visually versus written. I guess it's still the same thing. It's just putting your hand to paper and getting an idea out. Even when I do draw, it's still like it starts with it's really loose sketching, and it's probably the same thing, you know, writing versus sketching is like when you first start writing, it's like the frame of it, and it's like you put the blocks down and then you go in and you really fine tune it. You're not starting with like, so when you're drawing, you're probably not just farting. You're not starting with hopefully you're not farting, but you're not starting with the ink, right? So it's probably the same kind of concept as like figuring out the forms. One thing I do kind of like too is when I do try illustrating is starting like in black and white and putting down kind of like a couple shades of like white to black with gray in between, so that I'm not really focused on color. I'm more so focused on just kind of getting down like forms and contrast. And because color palette's not really that important. Color actually does not matter. It's really about the contrast and the composition and
the
what that looks like. Then you can just go and you can just swap out the color later, and you can put in any kind of color palette you want. Probably.
Do you normally start in grayscale?
Sometimes, yeah. Like depends on what it is. Like if I'm designing a logo or something, it's always in black and white. It has to work in black and white always. It's never designed in color. It needs to work in two colors, or else the logo is not good, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes too, if I'm just like struggling, like a recent animation I did the entire thing. It was like a UFO sucking up food, and I tried to do it in color for maybe like an hour at first, and I was just struggling so much that I just did the entire thing in black and white first, and then at the very end I just added color to it because it was such like a contrasting thing that at trying to do color was really a detriment. So I think black and white can definitely help you with that.
I think that's a great tip also, just accessibility wise too, because you want to make sure that the most people can also see and experience your work. So I think that starting with that is not only easier for the artist, but it's also easier for the viewer by the time you get to there. Getting into the chat asking, what are some of the things to keep in mind or prepare if one wants to start up their own studio?
Yep, I just saw this on Behance. I was about to answer this too. So I would say actually like do everything you can to just like build yourself as a brand first. Like it's so much easier to just be to be your name and be a freelancer and make relationships with people and have consistent clients first. Once you are just like very, very comfortable as your own person, as your own personal brand, and to the point where you're just like swimming in work and you're saying no to tons of people, then you're ready to hire other people, and even then don't, and then you just hire contractors to work with you for a long time. Don't start a studio until you are just drowning to the point where you need help so much that you have to literally hire people to form a studio with you. That would be my personal advice.
No, I think that's great. I mean, you get your own footing, get to know yourself. It's kind of like when they always say like you can't date someone until you're confident with yourself. You can't really go out and do much with others before you can kind of figure out your own approach to stuff. By the way, I just wanted to say for this one, it gave me a lot of Star Fox vibes. I'm not sure if that was intentional or not.
Yep.
But it made me feel very nostalgic for like N64 nostalgic vibes. I was just pulling up your Instagram because as you were talking about making a name for yourself and being comfortable with yourself first, I think that you have a really good way of putting yourself front and center while you're teaching at the same time and making things fun. So I think if you guys are looking for inspiration as to how to really kind of find self identity online and documenting it, make sure you check out his Instagram. Instagram.com/motion.by-nick. So, or not dash dot, excuse me. But anyway, back to the sketchbook. You also have some awesome sketches of the Wanderers in environment. What did these come from? Were these inspired by like Star Wars and like the Millennium Falcon or Star Fox, or where did you come up with this design?
Yeah, so I actually did a couple of these kind of cockpit animations before. And so this looks like it was actually maybe like some sketches of one that was like maybe one of my most popular animations ever called Lost in Space, which is like kind of like a black and white with like tints of red animation. Okay. And so I think that's what I was sketching out here. And I think if you go to, I think I've added in another image to it also. I'm not sure if you have it, but
let's see here.
Right here. So you can see like, and I'm trying to figure out like hands and how this could all kind of like rig up. You can see too, like at the bottom, I have like, I'm putting down like notes for like an appointment or something, which is funny. Like that's what I mean about, I don't treat things to be precious in notebooks. But I really like No Man's Sky is one of my favorite games.
Yeah. I could definitely see that. They have that in VR now, which I think would just make me sick, honestly.
Yeah, that might kill me.
Right. But once again, new frontier, new technology. So who knows?
Well, I really like No Man's Sky and I really like Star Wars. And so I like my favorite thing about specifically Star Wars is the like nonsense of the tech. Like it's like, it has this kind of retro feeling where like the gadgetry is like, it's really dumb, but in like an awesome way. You know, it's like the buttons are big and chunky. Like I don't like new sci-fi stuff where it's like everything's like a holographic orb. Like everyone goes to they want to go meet on the table and there's a holographic orb with mountains and they all spin around the mountains. Like I hate that. Yeah. I like Star Wars where it's like a walking trash can down the hallway. Like that is so good. And so I just really like that vibe of like, you don't like this. When I made this, it's like it was half because I'm lazy, where like this guy does like a turn in space, but he has nothing to turn with. He's just pressing buttons, and he has like a gear. Like this one makes no sense to spacecraft, but I just think it's hilarious and I love it. Like that kind of, you know. I made another one where the guy has a steering wheel, like a car steering wheel in space, and everyone's like, that makes no sense, and I'm like, yeah, of course it doesn't, but like. No one can warp speed.
It's also
right
space travel right now, so yeah, I don't know what.
Yeah, I just like the vibe. Like I really like nonsense tech. So,
but that was the one that kind of shot off the idea of Wanderers and start from there, because that was one of your more popular pieces. But we also have some stuff where you have this image of a eye on a tongue, which I recognized from your Instagram as well. Do you want to talk us through this one?
Yeah, just another example of like, this looks like an example. This looks like a page of like when I was still working full time. So I have like a bunch of like notes from client work, like Rihanna AR. I have no idea what that is, but then I'm just like have a sketch of like an idea, and so I'm a very kind of a flow of consciousness person. And then this becomes like an animation and a tutorial, and so it's just like you have an idea, you put it down, and then maybe I didn't do it right away, maybe I came back to it later. And then I also kind of really like breaking content down into like as many things as possible. So you can make a video, you can make a little loop, and then you can make it into a tutorial, and then you can also record the layer controls of it. That's another thing. And then, things can exist in a lot of different ways. And don't get discouraged if like people don't really like one thing, because one thing can take on many different lives, but maybe one thing people will really, really like. And you should always do things for the approval of the internet. It's not about what you like. It's about what everyone else likes. Okay.
Yeah. Tell me how that works out. Although clearly it has worked out well for you. So,
yeah.
But
Right.
I have a feeling that it's stuff that you still like. I know Bruce is asking. He's asking if there's anything in the tech world that you'd like to dip in and to try. That's new.
I would, yeah, that's a good question. I would like to play around with potentially becoming like finding ways to use AI in like an interesting way, like not just typing in like hamburger in the style of Pixar, but actually like doing like a really, really, really cool kind of animated AI stuff, and just seeing like what the potential is there. Just kind of, I really want to like stay on the cutting edge of stuff and just see if this has legs to it.
I did see that you did a poll on your Twitter as well. It had 81 votes, and it was actually pretty split. You said is AI art ethical? And you had 43.2% yes, 23.5% no, and 33.3% neutral.
Yeah, and I did the same poll on Instagram, and it skewed more to neutral than it did on Twitter, which I found to be interesting. Yeah, I'm actually writing a little video about this. I want to just kind of explore the topic.
Yeah, there's like a lot to unpack. Obviously,
it's a lot to unpack. I think that like anything, it's a tool that people will use in certain ways, and so I just have there's the questions I have are like, when people can start creating the most gorgeous paintings that you've ever seen in your life by typing in one sentence that like this was something I made, I thought this was awesome, and like, but if people start to become desensitized when they can just see the most mind-blowing paintings that you've ever seen, and there's no distinguishing that from something that took someone 3 months to create, right? Correct. What are like kind of implications of that? And I don't have a stance on it. I just want to explore that idea.
Explore it and see what it is. Yeah. When you went to create this, was this through Dolly or was this through Midjourney?
That was through Midjourney. I like Midjourney a lot.
I've played around with Midjourney a bit. I have not played with Dolly, but they have where they give you the 4 responses, and then you kind of go from there. So this, I'm guessing, was a seed of sorts for then the one that we just showed, right?
Yeah, this was 2 different things, I think. I don't really remember. I like just kind of started getting into playing around with like how it works. And I was bad at it for a while, and then I was chatting with my friend Patrick Lawler, who kind of like showed me. I went on his page, and he had some like super incredible stuff, and I was like, okay, he like, some people get how to like, how to work the AI, how to put the AI to work. And I think
there's some developer knowledge into it as well, with the way that like the brain works with code. Gabrielle Mafento wants to know if there's ever been something that you want to create something, but you didn't have any idea of what to make, or if you have an idea and you couldn't just pick an idea. How do you kind of hone in on one?
Yeah, sometimes I get like burnout. I mean, there was a stretch where I didn't make a YouTube video for almost a year. And sometimes you just get really burnout.
Right.
And then inversely, I've also have a lot where it's like I really want to make this thing, but it might be so much effort, and um, and that's kind of like you have to weigh, like, do I want to put in so much effort to try to make this thing, and I don't know how much it's going to pay off. And it might sound bad, but like I generally don't like to go for like such high effort things all the time. I like to just kind of be more casual and have more fun to do things. Which, I kind of want to like, I like to, for me, it kind of, my methodology is like, there has to be a ton of value steps along the way. And this is just me again, like there has to be an end thing that I'm sharing, and then things I can share with other people that they get value out of along the way. So yeah, like definitely to answer the question is there's tons of cool things that I want to make that I just don't do. But these all are things that get written down, right? They get written down. I have a huge list. I call it my scratch pad, where I just write down. I have hundreds of ideas, and over time, maybe one day I'll come back to one, like months or even longer, and just kind of be like, okay, well now this one it's time to do this one.
Yeah, 100%. That's a great answer. We are about halfway through our show, which is exciting. But on Offset, we like to do a thing called Monkey Paws, which is brought up from Anna Davis Court, and it's a way to combat some carpal tunnel. So I'm going to walk us through that. But let's do the intro first. Now, have you ever struggled with any sort of carpal tunnel or kind of drawbacks from the job?
Yes, that's why I have a crazy looking mouse.
Yeah, I've got a wireless one, but I also
Yep.
have the crazy Anchor one.
Mm-hmm.
It was about a year or so ago. I don't know what it's time anymore. But sometime after COVID outbreak, that I started kind of having different aches or pains in my wrists whenever I would have long hours. And I saw that Anna had been doing these monkey paws exercises on her streams, and I started doing them, and I was really surprised with how you have that immediate feedback of being able to feel what you're doing. So just about halfway through our show, if you guys are watching and you are working on something, if you want to take a break real quick to just do a few stretches, these are really simple way of exercising to make it so that your hands and your wrist don't fail on you, because as artists, they're some of the biggest things that we rely on until we get our brain chips from Nick and crew for AE scripts. So what we're going to start doing is you're going to reach out like this and towards the camera. You're going to bring in your fingers like monkey paws, and then and then go down like this, bring them in again. I always feel that one a little bit in my wrist. Release. You're going to flip around to like give it to people, and then bring it in like that. And then the one that always kills me is then the very last one. You kind of point towards yourself and you bring it in. And that one is the one that I can always feel. Oliver's asking if there's a Kickstarter for brain chips. Not yet.
Just go to your nearest bridge at 3 a.m. There's a guy with a trench coat.
And he's collecting money. He's the crowdfunder. So you're going to shake up your hands again. And then you can just do this a few times. I normally on stream, I just do it like 2 times through, just so that people can, get the basic idea. Obviously, if it hurts at all, I'm not a doctor. Don't hurt yourself. Stop at any point. But if you just do this and you give yourself an excuse to look after your hands, then hopefully you have a longer career. So check it out. And then besides your mouse, is there anything else that you do to kind of create a healthy work-life balance for you, or take care of yourself?
I got a standing desk. I got this
Ooh.
cool mouse. Get a dog, and that will make you go on a lot of walks throughout the day. Do some yoga. Get sleep.
What?
Yeah, believe it or not.
Gideon wants to know how you deal with burnout. Sometimes it feels like a drain to work, but it's tough. Any suggestions?
Go in nature and look at trees. Go somewhere, go to your nearest nature and just sit there for as long as you can and look at the trees. That would be my advice.
Go into nature. I feel like that works. Gabriel also wants to know if cats count. Cats don't make you go on walks though. But
yeah, cats don't. Unless you got a leash for that cat.
Yeah, which I wanted to do, but my cat started running out. Also, I see a lot of pain in the chat. By the way, guys, make sure you're not hurting yourself. Although, if it does hurt, it might be a good routine to start easing into lightly, says Sam, which is good. As you guys all know, speaking of going outside, it is getting chillier outside, which means that it's October. This month, a lot of people are doing Inktober, which I think actually is trademarked. So I'm just, they're doing ink-inspired prompts. One of them is Inktober. I had the privilege of sitting down and talking to Maria. And so I put together a small little video. We're going to be right back after this. Last about like 3 minutes or so. But check this out and get to know Maria's work.
My name is Maria Pareja. I am a concept artist and art director. I work in Cartoon Saloon at the moment. I love to paint and I love color and composition. I really enjoy the Inktober because it's just such a fun little challenge and it makes me go out of my comfort zone. I've done Inktober like 3 years. The first one, it was a little bit like a comic of things that happened to me during the day. But after I started to do my spicy witches, that I did it 2 years, and it was just little witches around the forest and what do they do and how do they live. I really enjoyed, but I always give a year between them because they are very challenging and training. This year I'm following the original prompt list, but I'm also picking like some of the prompts from other random lists that I see, because like some of the words from the original list I don't like or I don't know what to draw, even though I'm trying to squeeze an idea for some of those words and picking the ones for the day that I don't feel comfortable with the original one. I really like the gargoyle one because I am very proud of how it turned out. But I think, yeah, I like them all so far. I'm looking forward for one that is dance. And I'm going to do a little dance of monsters inspired by European monster costumes. I'm doing mostly ink and gouache. I mix them both, and if I mess up, I usually add crayons, but mostly ink and gouache to help me add color. My main challenge is that I want to get better at color traditionally. Like I really like doing color digitally, but I feel like I struggle a little bit when I have to do it with gouache or watercolor or in a traditional media. So I just want to improve and practice a little bit that. I don't consider that I have a style, although my friends tell me that it's very recognizable. I tend to get inspired by other artists. So if I like an artist like Adi Merico and Amélie Fleches and Julian Arnaud, they're like the ones that are inspiring me most at the moment because they work a lot with traditional media and watercolors. I have an online shop where you can buy my prints and my merch and my stickers, and you can also buy originals and books from previous Inktovers. Try to enjoy the Inktober as a fun challenge. I know it can be very easy to get into it like a competition and see who makes the best Inktober, but just try to enjoy, and if it becomes like too not enjoyable, maybe just quit and do something else, go for a walk. Be gentle with yourself while doing the Inktober.
Now, I definitely want to bring that up just because, especially at the end, she's like, "Yeah, if you're not enjoying it, just quit," which sounds really harsh, but at the same time, I feel like a lot of people hold themselves to these crazy standards, and the idea of doing these projects where you do a thing each day is really just supposed to benefit you and your work. And if you are like hurting yourself through it, there's no blood oath to do it. Go take a walk, go relax, go chill, decompress. You can come back to it later if you want to. But if it's something that you're inspired to do, make sure that it's doing something for you. It's not just making you miserable.
Well, it's funny. I was thinking about doing 36 days of type again whenever I think that's coming up, and just like, but I was like, if it gets to the point where I'm like stressed out for a second, like I will quit, and I'm not ashamed about that because I did that. I used to do it before, but it's tough.
It's a lot to ask of someone. It's a lot of commitment for like a week, let alone a month. And it just, it can really do really good things, and it can also do really bad things. So it's just, assess and see where it goes. Gabriel, don't apologize for asking a lot of questions. We welcome as many questions as you'd like. And we get to them when we can. Obviously, we want to pass along as much as we can. Gabriel is asking, or is it Gabrielle? No, Gabrielle would be L-E at the end, so it's Gabriel. Do you still think making personal projects for study or portfolio? And what is the worst part when you started on motion design? Oh, I like that. What is the worst part when you started with motion design?
Yeah, pretty much everything I do is, I would say, it's personal stuff. So a really good tip, a really good piece of advice I got, I think it was from like the Freelance Manifesto, which is like a School of Motion book, was that you will only ever get hired for work that you've already done. You should always be making personal work, especially you should be making personal work for stuff that you want to do, because no one is going to hire. People are going to, if you want to get hired for something, people are going to look at your portfolio. They're going to try to find the work of stuff that they want to hire you for, whether that's logos you've created or animations you've made in a specific style. Like, so always do personal projects and stuff that you like, that you want to get hired for. You want to make comic books, start drawing comic books. So yeah, always be doing personal projects. Doesn't mean you have to, like we said, doesn't mean you have to be sweating about it at night, but chip away at them when you're in your free time.
Because it's one of those things. It's like, don't just make what you think people want to see, because they will then maybe take what you're saying or what you're presenting, and then actually just ask you to do that. And then you get into this horrible cycle where you're putting something out there because you think that's what gets you hired, and then you get hired for that thing that you don't like doing, and then before you know it, that consists of your entire portfolio, and then it's just this self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly.
Which is not fun. But I did want to do some art talk, actually, and go through a little bit of some inspiration that you had brought up. And we can check out 2 artists that you sent my way, saying people that inspire your work and how you get into work. So the first one we have here is Adam Barish, who is an animator and character illustrator. He sent me along his Instagram. We could pull up a few of his things. Why did you send this one over in particular?
I just think that he's so good at drawing characters. Like, this style is so cool. I love like lack of information, I guess. Like, telling something in the, also his rigging is really cool. I love this kind of joysticks and sliders style rigging, and I think he does some really, really impressive stuff. But the characters are just really, really cool, and I really like the limited color palettes, the simple shapes. I just think his stuff is just really cool. The character design is really, really amazing, and he does some really awesome breakdown style stuff. I mean, that's just so cool to me.
Yeah, it's really cool to see all the different layers and stuff within the project. It's pulling back the curtain to see what's there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, do you use joysticks and sliders a lot yourself?
I do a decent amount. I've used it a lot in a lot of my yeah, in a lot of my videos, I've used it. I think it's a really awesome tool.
It definitely has its learning curve to it, but I think once you get past that, I think that it really can be more useful than it is more of a hindrance to learn, you know?
Yeah, and it's less about even, I guess I would say it's less about the learning curve. It's more about knowing when you need it. Like,
right.
because sometimes it's just not, you don't need to spend all the time rigging something up at, like, when you could have just used a couple of nulls and just spun something around. Like,
Right.
it's knowing, it's kind of like, did you need to spend 3 hours rigging that when you could have spent 1.5 hours and just animated the thing, you know, like this, and you called it a day. So it's knowing when you need to put that time in to do it.
It's also cool with the stylization of this one, just to bring down that low res feel and making it feel pixelated without it feeling like I don't know, those cheap straight to pixel video games that it's like, oh, you just didn't want to do the art.
Right.
It feels intentional, which is really cool. But I can see some crossovers between your guys' like color palettes and to your point of fading into that black. You got some sci-fi to it, which is cool. Now, have you followed this guy's work for a while?
Yeah, definitely for a while. And he has gotten like really good. He doesn't post a lot, but he's gotten really good at like showing these really incredible breakdowns that like kind of make you appreciate like how far someone went to bring something to life that you might not like kind of understand. And when you see it, which is why documenting your stuff is so important. I think that people generally care about the process behind something much more than the result of a thing.
Right.
Is really interesting to see.
Which, I mean, there's even like extensions now that even show points on like a motion design just to show kind of how things are broken down, so you don't have to add vanity ones to them. And I just think that's so funny as like a flip back to like not making it look so polished, but making it very obvious that it has controllers and constraints, and in showing you that it's all not one fluid object. It's 8 objects that are being overlapped with one another to create the illusion of one object.
Right. Well, it's kind of like what I was saying before, I guess, like touching on with the AI stuff is like, you know, at this point, everyone has seen like the most incredible CGI photorealistic thing, and it's like almost unimpressive, right? Like no one's gonna, at this point, no one is gonna be impressed by like a photorealistic alien, right? Or like a building exploding. But you turn off all the colors, you turn off all the CGI, and then you show me the thing, and you did it in Blender, right?
Yeah.
And you show me the wireframe version of the building exploding, and now it's all of a sudden 10 times more interesting.
Right.
So that's why documentation is key.
No, it was there was some article that I saw a few weeks back that was talking about how like the early 2010s there was a real emphasis on everything being hyper realistic, everything being like as close to life as possible. And then now there's things like Spider-Verse and I think it was called The Bad Guys that are re-embracing the approach of 2D animation from like Looney Tunes era, and how audiences are responding better to that because they're like going to see an animated film. If they wanted to just see something realistic, like why not just do an actual shot realistic movie with like CGI in it or something like that. So it's interesting how that kind of comes back around. And then, yeah, to your point, if you also see how it's made, I mean, that makes it 1,000 times more interesting in itself.
Yeah.
When you're documenting your own work, or do you have any tips of anything in particular that works best for you? Like, do you screen record the whole time? Do you just make points throughout your journey to document stuff? Or is it something that you kind of go back to after you're done a project?
I used to screen record the whole time. I do not do that anymore because it's just like a lot, because I find myself then kind of like curating the experience while I'm doing it. The only time I screen record during the process now is like if I'm drawing something, which now if you're like doing it on Procreate, they just do it for you, so it doesn't really matter. But if I'm like doing something very specific, like tracing over something that cannot be undone later, but even then you can just like toggle back on layers, because you want to when you want to edit something, you want to understand what people like in editing, and it's like quick cuts. Like you want to cut every like couple of seconds, right? So
the amount that you have to cut is actually pretty crazy, especially with TikTok and stuff. Like the amount, like it all kind of looks like Bohemian Rhapsody, where it's like
right,
click, 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 click.
Right. So there's not even kind of a really strong reason to like do a full screen record anymore, unless you have a really specific reason to do that. So generally what I've found is effective now is like make the thing and then go back, like kind of write a script out of like my process of doing it, and then like understand what the kind of like most, and then like chop that down so much, like chop it down so it's like 30 seconds. Understand like what is the most interesting thing that I'm showing you. And then it's really easy to just like record things. Just turn on layer controls. That's all anybody cares about. People only just want to see the layer controls on, which is like the green boxes around things. Give the people what they want. They want layer controls. That's it. And then that's it. So just go in and like record certain moments like that and just match it up to what you're saying. That's really kind of how it goes now. Versus like trying to dig back through 30 minutes, 60-minute stretches of recordings is not really my process anymore.
No, that makes sense. And it's I guess quality, not quantity. And like if you show everything, then like the not as great parts kind of get put into the spotlight, where that doesn't necessarily need to be what's shown. But yeah, no. So I just wanted to I guess round out on this artist, and just I'll put the Instagram for him in the chat. Oh nope, Sam already did for us. But you guys can go and check that out. Like Nick was saying, there's a lot of really great customization and like documentation of how things are being rigged and moved around. So if you're looking for inspiration, check that out. And then the second one that you sent over was Laura Rubin, who does these beautiful portraits. And she also does a really good job at kind of documenting her process, which is kind of cool to see. Now, why did you include her?
This is just an example of a person who I could never comprehend being this good. And so so Speed Lag is a guy who like I love his work and I can like wrap my head around it. So it's like it's like an aspiration. It's like, oh, that's awesome, and I get what he's doing, right? Mm-hmm. This is a person who's just like I don't even understand it, and I just watch her stuff in like complete awe, and I just really love the way everything comes out. So every time she posts is just like a joy to me,
especially from such an illustrative approach. And I know that you said that you don't have the patience to kind of get into the design mode. Mm-hmm. For somebody who is so heavily based in illustration and creating, I could see why you would admire kind of her workflow and her approach, which is cool.
Yep.
Now, have you followed her for a while as well, or is this someone you recently found?
Yep, I followed her for a while, and and just kind of like she's just consistently always been so good. I mean, and like like I've kind of been saying this whole time, is like I'm not good at illustrating, and I don't think I've ever really been good at it. So to just watch this stuff come to life is just so awesome. Yeah, no, and she's gotten really good at recently too, like making really interesting videos. So that's been really cool. Is like seeing the technique. Yeah. And
also seeing that she's doing both like iPad, and then also here it looks like she's doing something with this new tablet that she got, mm-hmm. that then she can just port that straight into like Photoshop.
Yeah. When someone wears a hand grip when they draw, it's like you're in for a good time. Like you're about to watch something good happen.
Yeah, I'm just gonna start wearing those though, then just for the attention then.
Right.
Hi guys, welcome back, and I have my little hand glove on. I know a lot of people are like, I do it because I get sweaty. I'm like, oh, okay. Which I think is fun. But I think this is also like, even though this is just an unboxing, like it's important to see kind of the whole idea of attention to documentation,
Mm-hmm.
So, but no, I think it's great. She's got some really good stuff. And you guys should also check her out if you guys have a chance. You want some inspiration with illustration and portraiture, you name it. Also, my cat is front and center. I thought I had hidden him, but he is. I didn't realize on the bottom of the screen. So hello to
You
Ross.
warned us.
But I was trying to play it cool. I was trying to do it so that I could hide off screen whenever he hopped up. I literally have this this acrylic cover for my keyboard.
Oh, nice.
Because he hops on top of it so often that I actually almost got kicked off of a stream with Way to Cuff one time because I started spamming the chat without meaning to. So cool. So I think that's everyone that we have for our art talk for your inspiration. One part that I would love to really get your view on is something that we call I didn't know that was there.
Yeah.
What? I didn't know that was there.
So one of the things that I always run into that I find both humorous and aggravating and exciting is that these programs have so many features and so many touch points that when you are learning them, you can't just go in and learn absolutely everything. You can't go to the manual and just read it from cover to cover. You kind of go in and you learn as you go, or you take a course. But because of that, sometimes there are these fundamental options, or there's these new tools that come out, and you continue working in your own way, in your own silo, and you come across this thing that completely revolutionizes your workflow and how things work out. For me, the first time I can really genuinely remember this is in Photoshop. There was a feature that I didn't know existed for about 10 years when using Photoshop. Because I was self-taught from middle school, and it took me until I got into college for a professor to point out the sample all layers in the magic wand tool. So up until that point, I had been individually collecting layers and then selecting and holding shift and then going to a new layer and holding shift. And if I messed it up at all, I would have to start all over again. And so that's kind of where this segment came to be from. And I wanted to see if there were things that you had in your repertoire of skills that you ran into while using the programs that you didn't know was there and now as a part of your workflow.
Yeah, for sure. So I have two things that I'll share. Let me share here. All right. So the first one is in Illustrator. And again, I've already set this up. I didn't take time to draw something nice. All right. But this one is the shape builder tool, which blew my mind when I figured it out, or when I found it. So if you have a bunch of shapes here, you might know that you could use the Pathfinder and unite stuff, right? You can unite stuff and you can subtract stuff here, whatever. You can do all that stuff, right? I think a lot of people know Pathfinder, but Pathfinder works as well as it works. However, there's a tool here called the shape builder tool. And if you use this, you can draw and connect certain shapes however you want. Now, if you had something more interesting like this weird frog, you can see how this could become crazy useful, and you can ununite things. This is so useful if you have really complex things going on that you need to build out, and Pathfinder is not going to do this for you. This is the best thing ever.
No, I need to get into the habit of using it more frequently because I still am very heavily reliant on Pathfinder, and Pathfinder does wonders, but sometimes it's something similar where it's it would be a lot easier if I just kind of had something where I could build it out and select over on top.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's my Illustrator tip, and then I have one for After Effects here. So this is my other screen now. I'm going to transition over here.
Moving on.
I'm moving on over here.
Draw your attention to screen number 2.
Okay. So in After Effects, for someone like me who does a lot of loops, right? You have this nice loop here, right? Classic, nice ball loop. It's really hard to figure out if something is looping or not, right? You want to, hey, where's my loop end? Now there's a button down here. This take snapshot key. Boom, you click that and it makes a really nice on whatever frame you're on. And then wherever else you are in your timeline, you can click the eyeball and it shows you whatever you took a screenshot of, whatever it was on the entire frame. And that is like so useful. So let's say you're trying to then, well, you're like, okay, well, I want to actually make my loop right here. So now I know, okay, well, I want to go like right here. And that's my loop now. I hope I explained that well, but it's really, really useful for like trimming things perfectly without having to be like, well, I think it was here. This looked like it was here. And then this looked like it was here. And then this, and like having to nudge back and forth. You take the snapshot and you nudge things perfectly to be aligned and just toggle it back and forth. Great.
Now, is that only for looping, or do you use that for like, have you found that you use that for multiple different like iterations of like, I don't know, referencing other pieces of your project?
Yeah, well, like for another example could be like you could drop in maybe a design storyboard and you drop it in and you want to, you know, toggle it on or off, and or you want to match some text up to something else and you need to take a snapshot that's in another composition, and you take a snapshot and you take a snapshot in comp 2 here that has, you know, some text, right? Like it says cheese, and you know, maybe this says cheese here, and you need to make this one match up exactly like this one. So you're like, okay, well, I need to do this. And for some reason in this hypothetical example, you can't copy it over. So you can be like, all right, well, now let me make some text here that says cheese. And let me go and match it up. And I'm going to see, okay, well, this needs to be down a little bit. Boom. Now it's perfectly even with the other one.
Man, this game, I feel like I've spent too many times like doing different screenshots or like doing some sort of, I don't know, weird workaround to be able to like reference my own work. And it's, I don't know, it's refreshing to be able to go in and just be able to have something baked in so that you can make that perfect loop.
Yeah, just a really useful little thing that like you never really realized you wanted, and then when you find out it's there, you're like, "Oh, this is great!" And then you use it all the time.
This is what I have to use constantly, and it can't be taken away from me anymore.
Yep.
Well, cool. Thank you for showing. I didn't know that was there. Did anyone in chat know that was there already, or was anyone just kind of world just rocked through that? I know I'll definitely be using the referencing tool, but like I said, I need to get into using the shape builder tool because it's something that I know would benefit my workflow, and I just haven't really messed with it as much. So the next segment that we have up is called "Can I See Your Collection?"
Could I see your collection?
And so this can be through.
These are killing these segments are killing me.
Oh, thank you. Hopefully a good kill at least.
Yeah.
But I've done different approaches to this segment in a few different ways. We've had artists come in and talk about their NFT collections. We've had people talk about what's in their studio or what's in their workspace. I guess we could probably actually start with your studio space, because I love this thing that you have behind you, which is the little flashy guy.
Oh, my flashy guy. I thought you meant the tapestry. I'm
here for the tapestry.
I'll do this
What's
too.
The tapestry.
So I really love this artist named Killer Acid. And I
know Killer Acid. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know Killer Acid, but I know of Killer Acid.
So I got a bunch of stuff from him, and that's another one. I bought 2 of them, and because I couldn't decide which one I like better, I want to hang up. I went with that one, but
is that one also a tapestry, or is that one a print behind you?
They're both like these like flags.
Oh, they're like flag things. Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I got to find another space for this one, but
no, they're great. And their colors are also really nice, but they also actually do a kind of a crossover with your own work again. I can see where you get a lot of your color inspirations.
Yeah. Here's a random thing too that I'm like that I really like. Like, so I got a thrift shop print, and then I stuck a UFO on it.
Oh, nice. So it was just like a canyon of sorts.
Yeah, and I really like it. I just really, really like it, but I think it's funny.
No, it's great. I mean, it's such a easy update to make something. I don't know. It almost feels like oh my god, people are gonna be so mad. I can't think of the name. X-Files feels very X-Files.
Okay.
What do you have? Yeah. So what's your NFT guy that you have right behind you?
So this is called an infinite object, and it basically just plays one video forever. So this is one of my wanderers that I put in a frame, an infinite
Is there any
object frame.
specific reason why you chose that one? Was that like a first of any kind, or was it just the favorite one that you
I like
made?
this one. It's number 1690, and I like this one. It's got a clear view of space. He's blasting a laser in his cockpit. It's really blurry. Why is it so blurry? There we go.
Oh, that's cool. And so anyone can just like upload those, and then you just order it, or can you change it?
This was like a custom run that we did. So like we made like custom framings for people. So you have to get like the custom frames from us. But yeah, you can upload like Infinite Objects is like a marketplace. So you could do upload whatever kind of video you want to there.
Oh, that's cool. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see kind of the different use cases that you could get out of that, and create. I don't know, the different, especially looping as motion designers. I felt like until the last few years, even if you did motion design, there wasn't too many places you could really like document your work in a physical setting. Because
what I'm really excited for is like, I think, in the next several years, maybe within this decade, I'm one of the things I really want to see is like, a nicely designed frame. Not saying this is a nicely designed frame, but like a nice frame like this, that's a digital frame that's like as cheap as like a wooden frame, like you could go to Target, you could get a digital frame and you could just put up like put up animations in your house, like artwork animations, will be something that I think will just be so important for motion designers and any kind of digital artists. And then people will there will be like another resurgence of people buying digital artwork from animators, etc., to store in their houses, like on a wall. You can load it up on digital frames. I think it will just be really, really cool.
Just to blur that line a little bit more between like the physical and digital world.
I think the big kind of barrier right now is that like, where you're going to do it on frames, a digital frame will be $800 or something. No one's going to do that. But once they get it down to like, you get it for $30 at Target, it'll be everyone would do that.
Bring it to Target, baby.
Yep. The Martha Stewart line or something.
Wait, say again?
Martha Stewart line or something.
Yeah, Martha Stewart NFT collection. What? Give it time. We'll see it. Speaking of which, I know that one of your collections that you have too is you have your NFT wallet you have going on. I know you mentioned that some people spam your wallet by just sending you things, but is there anything in particular here that you want to pull up or talk about?
Yeah, there's some spam in here, so don't judge me if you see anything questionable in here.
Oh yeah, no, it's okay. I can scroll through it and I can figure something out.
Yeah. So I really like, there's some generative stuff in there that's really cool, that I like. And here, there's actually some, can you send me the link for that real quick?
Yeah, so I can send you real quick.
There's one, specifically, there's one artist that I could show that's really awesome. Yeah, so this is a public wallet, so everything there's like so this one is really cool. It's like music that kind of generates, and it's like a lo-fi girl. It's like the lo-fi girl on a train. I really like that one.
Oh yeah, it's just like a lo-fi girl.
This artist I think is amazing too. She makes really, really incredible portraiture, powerful mamacita.
Did you know her work before seeing this piece, or did this piece kind of introduce you to her work?
I found her on Twitter, and then I saw that she was selling some artwork, so I bought one of these. And just really liked it. Really liked this one.
And also this. All right, let's check this out. Ooh, La Seductora.
Yeah.
Is this the same person? Is this? Yeah, it's also Powerful Mamacita.
Yep.
So that's very cool. I like the chromatic aberration that's going on.
I'm a sucker for chromatic aberration. It's on every single one of my pieces. I don't care.
Is it really?
I do it. Yep.
Do you feel like that's like a finishing signature move that you have on your stuff?
For sure. I just love chromatic aberration.
Wow. Now this is nuts. So like this, it looks like the whole thing is covered in a grid that is just like a pixel every like 5, pixels or whatever. But then when it's animating the work of explosion, especially in darker spots, you don't see it. And then
I have no idea how this guy made this, which is why I really liked it. Like it's kind of like some weird Rorschach thing. So
unfortunately, I don't think the dots are coming through the stream in such a high quality, guys. But you guys should check that out. It's really cool. Just to see how the dots are more concentrated, even when some explode and when some don't. Sean, you cannot buy viewers. Absolutely not. By the way, people really liked your frame on the wall digitized. So you have a marketplace for that.
All right.
Looks like you have to team up with Martha Stewart and Wanderers to release a Martha Stewart Wanderers frame collection.
Let's do it.
All right. And I also want to go ahead and pull this one up. And this is one that you also had included.
So this was a collection by Daniel Savage, who's like a pretty popular motion designer, I think in LA. Okay. And so he made these infinite grids, which are kind of like they compile in different parts. So you can get a grid in any kind of part. And so this was one that I got. And I just liked it. I thought it was like a fresh, I like people, there's a lot of like NFT stuff and they're unimaginative and they kind of like, they can use stolen artwork or they can just kind of be uninspired and just kind of hashing out, trying to make a buck or whatever. But when motion designers and artists that you like come in and they do stuff. So I've known Daniel Savage for a while, like not personally, but I've known his art for a long time. He came in and did this grid collection. I thought it was just really, really cool and something that I haven't really seen before. So I really like it. I like just kind of like, I really am a sucker for these, like, I like the generative stuff and like seeing all the ones that other people got. Cause I've always really liked collecting things. I like trading cards. I like collectible stuff and being a really digital native person. To me, it just makes a ton of sense.
Right.
So that's why I'm such a fan. And I really like when, artists come in and take their spin on it.
So do you think that you will expand beyond Wanderers to other collectibles? Or do you kind of see yourself creating collectibles in that ecosystem of all like Wanderer based creations moving forward?
Yeah, I think it'll keep getting bigger for sure. I mean, I do have like kind of I have my own personal things that I do, and I have stuff in the Wanderers brand, and I would like to make physical collectibles, and I'd like to keep making kind of personal stuff that coincides with it. So this is kind of what I was saying in like the beginning is I don't see there's no ceiling for anything, right? There's no ceiling for any of this. It's just kind of, it's like a river that flows, a really chaotic river. So I would love to just keep exploring wherever it can go. This whole industry is such a weird place that everyone keeps trying to push each other to do the next like kind of weirder and weirder and more interesting thing, be more and more innovative. And I would like to keep being a part of that. And
weird can be good, It's definitely, it's par for the course, especially with something new. I know Laura is in the chat saying that Paul Tran is doing some amazing work. Yeah, he's got some cool stuff on Super Rare. You guys should check that out if you can. Everyone's saying that the smoke in the other one looked like smoke from Lost, which I admittedly have never watched Lost. But cool nonetheless. And yeah, no, it's a cool new approach to like you said, collectibles and seeing where it's going. We are almost at time, and we've gone through the majority of our segments. The last thing I wanted to do is, if you will have me, I was just going to go ahead and share a few of some Inktober stuff that I found of other artists working and creating based on their different prompts.
Let's do it.
So as I was saying, Inktober is its like own thing. I don't want to step on any like trademarks or whatever. But that's why it just says October Ink, which I guess also me saying that though at the same time probably nullifies that entire intent. But I didn't only pull from Inktober. I know there's some like Peachtober and what have you. And so for these ones, I just went ahead and I let me see. Let me try to pull it up. I just put the it's not letting me pull it up through the actual thing, so I'll just pull it up here. I just pull it up through actual Google Slides. So first one is Krabby. It's actually by the Cool Cats NFT collective, which I was surprised. I know that they have done some restructuring and they've done they had their whole bubble that then went through its own thing, but it's kind of cool to see that they're going and they're creating illustrations for Inktober. Today for the official Inktober was actually Krabby, so it was cool to kind of see this one with the fire and the little cat on the top of the stallion. Also the barnacles on the claws are really cool. It gives me kind of a Banjo-Kazooie vibe. Did you ever play?
Yeah, this is awesome. So the creator of Cool Cats is like a really awesome artist. So I'm assuming he did that. Yes, I did play Banjo-Kazooie. It's a good game.
Oh, Ramesh is in the chat saying that he is a big fan of Nick and his work, and he gave you a little heart.
Thank you, Ramesh. I appreciate you.
But yeah, wait, so have you spoken to the Cool Cats guy at all? I don't know his name. I feel bad that I don't know his name.
Briefly, a long time ago.
Yeah, but he's got some cool stuff.
Yeah.
He's doing one for each day actually of Inktober. And so this is actually just the recent one as of late. But I thought it was cool. The next one that I have is Lantern by the Meggie Johnson. And so Lantern, I think, is on Peachtober, I believe. And I like this one because it gave me almost Adventure Time meets Gravity Falls vibes. Not to take away from her art style at all. It doesn't feel like it's a rip, but it was giving me inspiration from that. And I really liked the symmetrical vibe of it as well, which I know that you kind of incorporate symmetry into some of your own pieces a lot. Now for yours, I know they're not always symmetrical because of how it goes, but are there any Wanderer pieces that are fully symmetrical?
Yeah, that's like a thing. People value those like symmetrical symmetrical hands and symmetrical panels. The thing with this collection is that it's so in depth because of the amount of different traits and possible combinations that there became like a kind of like intense collector base of what people look for. So people would kind of look for certain things within the way the panels are laid out and the types of hands there are, and the amount the wormholes appear. So for sure, like symmetry is definitely like a big part of that. Absolutely.
We also have Krabby by the Dantas, and this one is very cute and angry. They went not only for the physical crab, but they made an upset crab.
This looks like a boss in a video game.
It does, right? Or maybe like one of the minions that it predates the boss,
right.
Like it's like you have to kill a few of these and the last one's a gigantic crab. Yeah, it definitely has game vibes to it. And I know that through all of their stuff also looks similar. So that's the Donuts, spelled Donatz. We looked at Maria's stuff earlier, but today she posted one for Krabby, which I thought was really cute. You got this little jack-o'-lantern guy on the left that gives me vibes that it's kind of like over the garden wall. But she did such a great job. I know she said she was mentioning on color, but I think that her greens work really well with the rest of her piece as well. We have Krabby by Darren McAlvert, which has the #1 OG crab, Mr. Krabs. And I like this one because it's obviously very physical. It has Copic markers, which I played around with in college, but man, they're expensive.
This is like a really interesting style to it. Like,
yeah,
looks very weird, and I like it.
It's got like a toy feel almost.
Yeah.
Then we have Interconectos by Philippe Mora Art, and I don't know what reference this one's off of, but it was tagged with Inktober, and I thought that it was really cool to see the chaos of the lines, especially down here, and then how it builds structure, and then how that's kind of married at the same time to a spot where there's absolutely nothing, and having that blank space I think is really neat. And then the very last one that I have is Mountain by Arfix Fami. And this one is merging between both the mountains and the face. And I was wondering like if this is like almost supposed to be like a sun coming over the horizon, or if this is just her blush.
I think it's both.
Yeah, getting lost in that and being confused between the two, I think is pretty neat.
This is inspiring me to try Inktober now.
I know. I want to have something for. I was jealous of. There was like a motion meetup over in England, and I was like, I wish we had motion meetups in New York. And then also, I wish that there was like a motion challenge of sorts, in the same way that Inktober has. But I also know that that would get out of control so quickly, and that same sort of thing of work-life balance is it would just eat us all alive.
Well, it's like almost tougher because it's like it's just so involved. Because with motion, you have to like first you have to do the work of like designing the thing, and then you have to import it and animate it and like do all this stuff. Not trying to say other stuff is not really difficult to do. Also, like this stuff obviously is a ton of work, but we have almost like double the amount of like steps because you have to like create, illustrate and everything first, and then do the animation too. So it's how do you make it like a little bit more manageable? I don't know.
No, it's it would be a whole thing. I mean, the amount of time that some people already put into stuff is pretty bonkers. But no, it would be cool to do, but it would also be a huge pain. So we got about 10 minutes left, and so we have time for just our last segment that we have, and that is From This to That.
From this to that.
And that's when we look at an older piece of work, and then we compare it to a newer piece of work, and then talk about kind of what has changed and what you've learned since then. So you went ahead and you sent me over Apocalypse Now title sequence. So let's go and check that out. If I can pull that up. Hey, I know that guy. It was pretty sick. That was really cool. How did that come to be? And what was your inspiration for it? It felt very paper cutout.
Yeah, so that was like a college project. I think it was like a title sequence assignment. And so I chose Apocalypse Now for title sequence, storyboarded. I think that was probably the first kind of big animation I made of storyboarding something out, planning it out, designing it, and then like executing it. And I always am fond of that. I like it. And I kind of repeating what I've been saying throughout all of this is like, you can see, like, I think it's still pretty good animation. Like, it's eased well and it has good pacing to it, but you can kind of see how, it's kind of a boring design. And like, I know that I was just like, I want to get through the designs and I want to get into animation. And there are definitely times where it's like, there are things I want to do, but I don't have command over the program yet.
Right.
And like, there's some parts where it's just like blurry and it's like, I don't know how to make this not blurry, but whatever, we're just going to send it. And to my credit back then, it's like, I think I like made the blurriness, work by like making it feel intentional when it's not at all.
Intentional.
It's like not at all.
Yeah.
Just like, I just don't know how to make this not blurry at the time. I just don't know how to use After Effects well enough. So there's like a kind of a jam of like, wanting to do something, but you don't know how to use the program well enough, and you're not wanting to spend the time designing things and just wanting to get into animation and just like kind of getting something out the door. So that was like, just I like showing that one because I think it in retrospect, it like shows those, I think, feelings.
No, it's cool being able to look back on it and still have pride in it, but also being able to look back and say, these are the things that I want to change and these are things that I've learned since then. Speaking of which, I know you sent over this exposure plugin, which you said would be a really good example of something that's kind of simple, not simple, more recent. And let's check that out, and then we can talk a little bit about that.
Rejected a potential client who offered you exposure instead of real money to pay the bills? Well, no need to turn them down anymore, because there's a revolutionary new plugin which converts exposure into cold hard cash. Here's how it works. Simply install the plugin and apply it to your composition. Watch as our patented artificial intelligence algorithm inserts advertisements directly into your scene. Our exclusive encrypted currency deposits into your account in real time. So go ahead and make an intro for your cousin's YouTube channel. Don't ignore that influencer with 3,000 bot followers. With AE Script's new exposure plugin, all work pays off. Download today. This ad was paid for with exposure. This product does not actually exist, but maybe with enough exposure from advertisers, we can afford to build it.
So that was your take into also voice acting, it seems.
Yeah, so I voiced that, and then this for A Scripts again. This is the first one I did for A Scripts. I voiced it, wrote the script, storyboarded it, did not illustrate it, and then I voiced it, and then like we liked it, and then Lloyd was like, maybe we should hire a voice actor too, like just in case other people don't like it. And then we like put out a poll online, and like my voice got more votes as like the voice actor. Which is funny.
Well, I mean, there you go. You'd say you like passive income, right? Just go on, start voicing ads, and see what happens. No, I think that was really cool. Obviously, saw some chromatic aberration in there, which is always nice to see. And just mimicking the idea of a computer interface without it actually being a computer interface. I think there was a lot of intricacies that happened there. You got to focus on the animation itself and not the design, because you said that was a different illustrator. Were there any other big call outs to you that you really see as a stark difference between this and the first video we showed?
Yeah, so like the big difference to me between the two, and obviously one is a school project, one is a paying client, right? So inherently there's differences, but the skill difference from one to the next is that because like the animation wise, this one is not super impressive, right? We're not doing big 3D camera movements, and we're not doing, all kinds of crazy stuff. So it's storyboarding. It's me knowing, hey, I want to storyboard out things that I know I can animate on this budget, on this timeline, that I know will look good, that I know will execute this script, that like will come across. So just storyboarding things out, and then hiring the right designer that I know can bring this vision to life, inserting stock footage, like doing this in a style where we can do retro stock footage inserts that complement it, that don't feel jarring. And just kind of, just the experience comes in. How can I, knowing like where the limits are, and knowing to like, take the time to just kind of animating all the little details instead of trying to like really up it in a crazy way. And I think that kind of jump is really where the skill level comes in. That's like tracked on so bad, right? But it doesn't matter.
Right.
So yeah, to me, that's like the big jump there.
And I also just love all the transitions into one another, and how it all feels so fluid. And even though you're hopping from composition to composition, it all still feels like one singular unified piece.
Right, because none of this stuff is technically hard to do. It's scaling up, moving around, zooming in, right? That's pretty much the entire thing. But it's knowing that you need to in order to make this entertaining and dynamic, it's that stuff has to happen every beat, every couple frames. There needs to be a new thing happening. Boom, 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 boom. Whereas like in the one we watched, the Apocalypse Now thing, it's very slow. There's not much to look at. It's it's kind of like,
you got like the camera movement there. You have like a zoom in there. This is all masking, I assume. That's like a linear wipe, zoom. I mean, it's just constantly zooming and constantly adjusting what is taking hierarchy on screen, which is really
right. And that's kind of reinforces like the joke is that we're like bombarding you with ads, right?
Right.
It's like annoying and bombarding you with ads, and there's too much to look at, and so that's kind of like the rhythm of the video is that.
I missed this. I missed this cameo that you had right here in the bottom.
Right. I'm the YouTuber, because it's the joke is that it's a YouTube. The joke is that it's a YouTuber, so that's me.
Oh, this is great. I really enjoy this. The like you said, the movement works well. The colors are great. The pacing's great. It's only 57 seconds long, so it keeps your attention and moves on by the time the joke is too worn out. And it's really cool. So it's really cool to see these side by side and just see the different skill sets that you have. But that's pretty much our show. I guess the last thing I could ask you with is there anything next that we should look for you down the line? Where can we find you around online? And what you got planned?
Yeah, so I am continuing to build out my Wanders company. So we're going to keep producing cool videos and entertainment and games there. I'm continuing to work on providing fun, entertaining, educational content on Instagram, on YouTube, working on motion design courses. And I already have a couple out, like I said, so some of them are free. So just follow me on YouTube.
Where can they find the courses?
I have 2 free ones on Skillshare, and I have 1 non-free one, premium one on my Gumroad. Well, all the links are in my bio, beacons.ai/Nick, the pinned link in my Instagram. It's also on my website. I think. Oh, okay. Alongside a visuals pack, a vector visuals pack.
Brilliant.
So yeah, I'm just like I'm a little content machine. Got my tentacles out all over. So
hate that.
Classic. You hate that? Is that what you said?
Yeah, your little tentacles all out everywhere.
Yeah, I'm all over. You can't escape me. So just like, comment, subscribe, and and you'll
Go
see
from
more.
there and get some tentacles out there.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much for being a part of this. It was really great having you on. I learned a lot, it was really nice being able to peel back the curtain. Obviously, it's really cool to see everything kind of exploding for you, and looking forward to seeing what's next and kind of how you continue your content creation journey.
Well,
But-
thank you, Ryan. It's been great. What do you got going on? Anyone ever ask you on the live stream?
Oh no, I mean I got like probably about 30 seconds to go through it, but we are here all week with Offset, so make sure you guys check out the schedule for that. And I'm always doing motion stuff, and I'm always doing interview stuff. So,
All right. Well, we'll be here all week for the next people on the stream. Cannot wait.
yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate the plug. Thank you everyone for watching. Have a good one, and I will see you all in an hour and a half. There's something that happens in between there, but thank you so much, Nick, for being here, and we'll talk to you soon. Where did I put the thanks for watching? Here it is. Okay, goodbye. You're still here? It's over. Go home.
Go.